What's going on, guys? How's it going out there? Everything sounding good and looking good here? Lighting is just horrible here. So I'm going to assume everything's working real good here, guys, and we can get started. I'm going to have to flip back and forth to look at the chat, and we'll go through the DJI page on the Mavic Air. But appreciate everybody stopping by. So I gotta say, I was pretty excited to hear that there was a new Mavic coming, and to get things straight, this definitely isn't a hate on the Mavic Air. I think it's going to be a great machine. It's going to do what it's supposed to do. It's just not really going to be, for me, owning a Mavic. I mean, I've owned every DJI ship since like the Phantom 2, minus the Inspires, of course, and all those expensive ones. And the Mavic is just special. The OcuSync, the way that it just flies, and the speed and everything else that it had involved with it. It's just a special machine. Now, it's been dumbed down over the past year with all these different firmware updates and flight restrictions. I remember when my Mavic used to fly, I don't know, 45, 50 miles an hour, whatever the top speed was, and I noticed that the Mavic just slowly started to get slower and slower, and the same thing happened with my Spark too. It's like they were kind of limiting us on what we were sold on to start with. I don't know if any of you guys have noticed that or experienced that as well. But the Mavic Air, just the biggest reason why I'm not going to purchase it is that we just can only hope that the Mavic 2 is going to be just like knock your socks off. And mostly what I want out of the Mavic 2 is I just want everything that is in this with more flight time and OcuSync. The Spark Wi-Fi connection was okay for me on 2.4 and 5.8. I used an OTG cable to hook up the phone and to hook up my iPad. I flew it. I was able to fly comfortably within a half to 3/4 of a mile in most situations before I would start getting really crazy breakup and lag, and it just had to either bail or it would just terminate itself and return to home. Now I know the Mavic Air is going to have this more advanced Wi-Fi booster built into it, and I see that they have done away with the Wi-Fi connection from the remote control to the tablet, and they're using a cable and everything again. So that definitely solves a few of the issues that were in the Spark, but it's still not OcuSync. You still can't get the best out of the goggles and everything else. The first time I put my DJI goggles on with my Mavic, it was just otherworldly. It was just amazing. So that's two things right there to talk about. Let me click over here and check on the chat and see what's going on. Oh, yeah, George, the Mavic Air does have a 3-axis gimbal, and it looks like it's going to be the new kind of gimbal that they are going to start adding into the machines, which is great because the gimbal on the original Mavic is definitely a weak point. Putting that gimbal guard on there every time was just a hair-raising experience, that's for sure. I was always afraid I was going to rip that ribbon cable or something like that. That would have just been bad. The Spark gimbal, which this pretty much reminds me of, except it's got the built-in dampeners up in there for that third axis, was tough. Like, I threw my Spark around with me everywhere. I mean, I would just toss it in the seat next to me and everything, and I would go drive around. I probably had the most fun actually with the Spark when it came to taking pictures and stuff like that, just because people weren't scared of it. You know, even though it was kind of loud and sounded like a swarm of bees, it's just the size is what intimidates people. They just don't get it that if I hit them with that Spark, it's going to hurt just as bad as getting hit with anything else. Same way with like the FPV community. My little Emax Baby Hawk ripping around is a 2-inch thing that flies around at, I don't know, it probably will go 45, 50 miles an hour. I mean, if you get hit with that thing, even though it only weighs like 160 grams with its battery, it's going to hurt. That's for sure. So, but, it's got the Air has some cool technology built into it. The little planet stuff, all these gimmicky modes and everything, those are cool. How often do you actually get to use them? I mean, we're never how many of us have ever been standing at the base of a cliff or anything in order to take advantage of like boomerang or anything like that? You just can't do those smart shots unless you have just the perfect line for that drone to fly. And since the Mavic Air doesn't have side avoidance, it just has rear and front and downward, it's kind of a freaky thing. The hand gestures, I mean, I could care less. Pretty much that's what everybody does when they get it, just to play around with it. I did that with my Spark because I thought it was cool, and I never used it again. I never took it off from my palm because I thought that was just stupid. There's no easier way to lose a finger than to have a prop spinning in your hand, let alone 4 of them. So I just don't get that. Active Track is awesome. Definitely am not a downer on Active Track. The ability to track multiple objects and have it center on one is just totally cool. The design and how it looks is just really cool. I really like the way that it looks. I like that they have these antennas oriented down now. I hope that's something that they carry on to the Mavic 2. That way we have even more type of a better feed. Click back over here. Don't see any more. And I know this is stuff you guys have probably already heard and seen and everything else, but I just like to talk this stuff. It's just not as fun typing it in forums and everything like that and Facebook groups. 4K, 100 megabit a second, that's great. that means that, you know, hopefully we'll be able to do good 1080-30, good 1080-60. The slow motion at 1080-120 would be awesome. That is one thing I definitely would want to buy the Mavic Air for, but I don't plan on going kayaking soon, and even if I was going kayaking, I mean, someone's going to have to be standing like right here to capture me in slow motion, because if I'm going down this thing, there's no way I'm going to be worried about my Mavic following me, that's for sure. I'm not that cool of a dude. Being able to do HDR and raw photos with something this small, again, is a total plus. That was one thing that was a huge drawback of the Spark, is that I really had to work hard when it came to working with the photos that I got in Lightroom. So having the ability, even doing 3-shot AEBs, there just wasn't enough wide dynamic range built into that Spark camera to do what you wanted to do. And when I was flying the Mavic, I really wasn't into taking pictures with it as much as I am now. So I kind of feel like I lost out on that a little bit. I took a little bit of some pictures with the Mavic, but not as many as I wish I would have. And having internal storage, well, that's just like a no-brainer. So hopefully that keeps on coming. So the design, yeah, we all know about the design. The controller, this is awesome. And, you know, in case you didn't know, yeah, the sticks come out, that's cool, whatever. But I'm really excited that they made this holder big enough and wide enough now that you can actually keep your cell phone case on and stick it into the remote control. I have an iPhone 7 Plus, and I have a, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but I have a Moment case, which basically has these kind of threads. I'll switch over and show you here real quick. So Moment is this company that sells really high quality add-on lenses for cell phones. And I have a wide angle and a macro lens that these holes right here in the case are actually threaded. So you can thread the lenses on, and then you can use their app or a better type of camera app than the standard one and get really awesome pictures with your mobile devices. Yeah, the Pro 2 has a 1-inch sensor. I mean, it's just all over with, man, because the Phantom 4 Pro, you know, when I had my Phantom 4 Pro and that thing with the 1-inch sensor and flying it around at 4K 60 it was just crazy looking, the video. You know, nobody really looks at, you know, when I would upload videos, I think I uploaded one video at like 2.7 60 because hardly anybody could even watch them anyway, and YouTube just crushes crushes the video with the codec. What's going on, RL? The other thing about the remote is I wonder how long the battery's going to last on it, because the Mavic remote was all right. Like, it got you through what, like 3.5 battery packs maybe. How long the Spark remote was about the same, you know, because it's pumping out that Wi-Fi. Now, since there's no Wi-Fi going to a device, maybe the battery power isn't going to go down. But, you know, they have some kind of booster technology built into this thing now in order to get it out to the 4-kilometer range or so. It's probably going to get ate up a little bit. So, yeah, I just love this stuff. Like, yeah, here I am. I'm playing in the jungle in a cave. I'm going to throw my Mavic up there. Not me, man. I'd be sweating and hot and probably complaining about how hot I was, I wouldn't be worried about taking a picture about how miserable I was feeling at the time. And this, yeah, no way. You'll never active track me walking up a hill. Maybe driving in a car. That'd be great. Running, jumping, or cycling. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I love active track, but the coolest thing I ever did with active track was I active tracked my buddy's unique Typhoon, and it held on for a good 45 to 50 seconds as we were flying around, and then the spark ran out of range. I got ran out by a unique Typhoon. That was awful. RL, I don't buy DJI. You will one of these days. You'll cave. Everybody has to at least own a DJI product at some point in their life. I mean, they're just that cool. If they quit messing around with the app, now that you have to take a test and the database is constantly being updated and all this stuff, it's just crazy. The quick shots, we already talked to these. At least asteroid is something that you could do everywhere. You know, you could take this anywhere that you're standing. You don't need like a total, crazy area or something like that to do it, I don't think. And it looks like it just is gonna take the pictures on the way up. So, boomerang now, like, I mean, I wish I was this guy, but unfortunately I'm surrounded by like cornfields and trees and pine trees and hills and everything else. I mean, how many times are you going to have to fly and set your radius before you could actually execute this shot and not hit something, right? Smart capture, I used that before, that was cool. Tap to fly, whatever. Now, this flight autonomy stuff is the stuff that drives me crazy, because check the chat. I've seen hemp wearing hipsters buying these for 6 years old. Yeah, no doubt. Guitar breakdown. The DJI goggles are just the best, man, when it comes to flying these things. I know there's some guy that used to comment on every single DJI video that I posted, and I can't remember his name, but if you go back and look at him, look at the comments, you'll see. And he always was down on the DJI goggles and said, buy the Moverio BT FPV smart glasses. Like, he never said anything other than that. So I've never personally tried them or seen them. The goggles, the original white ones, my buddy has the race setup, so the black ones with the OcuSync camera and stuff, and they're just as awesome. They're just as sweet. But this Flight Autonomy 2.0, talk about this and talk about, why this doesn't even really matter. Because when you throw in Wi-Fi and not OcuSync, did anybody see the demonstration that they set up in the little hallway where they had the little, not in the, at the actual event, they had a 20 by 20 area, and they had paper mache pine trees and stuff like that kind of set up, and they were flying around in there, and they were showing how the Mavic Air would correct itself and everything like that and fly around. So, I mean, autonomy is cool and everything, and it definitely is the future, but you are going, when you start bobbing and weaving, you're not going to bob and weave in and out of those pine trees like that running 2.4 or 5.8. I can tell you that right now. With my 5.8 that I run on my FPV stuff, as soon as I go behind a length of trees, I mean, it's static. And the Spark was the same thing. I could fly about, I don't know, out in front of my porch, across this field here. There's a length of trees. It's about 2 football fields away. So every time I would duck my Spark down behind those trees, it would immediately start lagging and breaking up. So my question is, what good is this Flight Autonomy 2.0 when your video is just going to start breaking up and everything anyway? I would have rather they just left things the way they were and put OcuSync in it and kept the price the same. You know, we're paying for this beta testing stuff like this, which adds no value or to anybody, not even like someone who doesn't know what they're doing, because all it's going to do is add frustration. Let's see here. So 21-minute max flight time, we know that we're going to get probably closer to 16 to 17 minutes out of that. It does have the new efficient ESCs, which are good. The props don't fold. That's one continuous prop, I believe. I don't believe the props fold anymore. This is the max speed. Yeah, that's what it starts out in until they start pushing out firmware updates and dropping it down. The enhanced Wi-Fi, again, you know, I'm anxious to see what people say whenever they start getting these in their hands. That could be a factor and make me just totally change my mind and get one, even though I doubt it, because hopefully by then Mavic 2 will be out in another 3 or 4 months. You got to assume they're going to have it out before summer starts because of all the sales that they could have for 4th of July and Memorial and all that kind of stuff, because they know people are going on vacations. And then this right here, this is just, in my opinion, it's almost false advertisement, because the goggles only truly work with OcuSync. If you use them anything else when you're tethered, it's just a crap experience. It's nothing like it is with the Mavic. Having total wireless ability and the head tracking and everything like that is just where it's at. So, I don't know. And then, of course, all the other stuff that's in there. So, then if we go and just kind of look at the prices real quick, you know, $800 for that, for just the Air. I mean, that's just, and the Fly More is $1,000. I don't know. It almost seems like they're kind of like milking us and holding back. You know, what do you guys think? It's like, I would rather they just drop something for $1,500 or $2,000 or whatever, Mavic 2, and just get it over with. Why are they just has DJI all of a sudden just like, you know, they used to just put these moonshots out there. You know, if you look at the advancement from the Phantom 4 to the Phantom 4 Pro, it's basically like 2 different drones. So why would they like keep on backtracking in technology? Now this is a moonshot for the Spark, and we always knew that with a name like Mavic Pro that there would be Mavic Lite or something like that comes out. So I guess they had to fill their niche or something with kind of this Air thing. I don't know. So, I don't know, guys. That's really about all I have to say about it. You know, if anybody's getting one that watches this, you know, I hope you enjoy it and I hope you have a good time with it. And I look forward to seeing your videos and everything like that. But I just know that it's just kind of a couple steps back, yet a step forward for me. And it's just not where I want to be right now when it comes to DJI stuff. Definitely a lot more selective as far as what I'm spending my money on when it comes to these kind of platforms now. I feel like I knew what I was getting when I got into the Spark, but I didn't expect the Wi-Fi to be that bad. You know, like, I expected it to be, when they said it would go a mile, I expected it to be at least solid up to a half mile in all cases. And in most cases, it wasn't. And that just kind of really burned me, which is why I won't go with anything with Wi-Fi unless it's like 100% unanimous that nobody's having any Wi-Fi issues with these. Focus groups probably showed that people won't spend more than $9.99. I would say that's true for some people. They wouldn't spend more than $1,000, but I mean, most of us here know what we've paid for the Mavic, and that we know what we would actually pay for something that's better than a Mavic. I mean, if they came out tomorrow with a Mavic that had 30-minute flight time, a 1-inch camera, did everything that this does in the exact same body style and platform, and had OcuSync, and it was, say, $1,300 and then like $1,500 or $1,600 for a Fly More, then it would be sold out. I mean, the Mavic pre-release was just crazy. I mean, I think I got mine during like their second shipment or something. I ordered mine like 2.5 days, or like 2 days after it went, the sales went live. And I remember that's all anybody talked about on the Facebook groups and the internet was like, you know, did you get a tracking number? Did you get a tracking number? What's your tracking number? I emailed DJI and this is what they sent me. And I talked to John at DJI and this is what he said. And people just went absolutely nuts. I've never seen anything in such high demand that wasn't even close to being a want for the general public in my life. I mean, it was like Mavic-geddon, man. And I'm not sure how many of you guys actually got in right there at the beginning, or if you got yours later. So I know my one buddy ordered his like 4 hours after I did, and he got his like 2 weeks later. He was really, really upset. Yeah, DJI's never going the way of GoPro, man. They've got money. They've got tons and tons of money. They don't have to worry about it at all. They're totally in the house. So I guess that's pretty much all I got for the live stream. Just kind of an overview and a rant and stuff. Anybody else got any questions or anything for me about any topic at all before we close this thing out? Sleeping cat right there. What a life. What's for supper? I made cracked chicken, man. It was awesome. Chicken, cream cheese, and ranch dressing on like lettuce wraps. Yeah, I know. Trying to keep on losing weight. I don't know if you can tell by any of my videos that I've lost some weight over the past like 8-9 months. I think I've lost like 30 or 34 pounds or something, like trying to not eat carbs. So I didn't fly the 6-inch today, but the I did fly that Martian 2 that I put the XSR in, that I modded the antennas on, and it flew a lot further. But man, that thing, after flying these like BL Heli 32 and Cowman filters and everything else like that the past couple months, like going back and flying something that's on straight Betaflight 3.2 with multi-shot ESCs on 4S and those like crunchy old steel motors. I mean, the motors still fly great. The video was still smooth, but man, no CRSF. It was weird flying it. Like, it felt like just a big slug. I'll put a video up on it in a couple days for you guys that saw me cutting the antennas on that and stuff. The antenna mod worked. It did go it went out to like a kilometer, which I was probably getting like half a kilometer in like either way. So now I'm just getting a kilometer, which is good enough, but it flies so bad. So, and then we're talking 6S with low KV. I don't know. 6S low KV to me just sounds like problems. You kind of go with this long range stuff. You just want to go with something that works. That's what I tell everybody to do. Like, you see the stuff that I'm doing with like the 5.5-inch Proton. Like, it just works on 5S, 5.5-inch. It's the best mix of like everything. It's like great. But if you look at people doing like 7 inches and like 14, 16, and 1600 kV motors, it's just like Jello City. And just, it's the flight controller software in these flight controllers just aren't made to handle this kind of stuff. When I first did things like that with long range, and when I first got into all this back in like 2014 or 2013 or whatever, the NASA flight controller could handle all of that noise and that DJI F450 and the Discovery Pro and everything. But like, if you've never seen a NASA flight controller, I mean, it was like the size of like this battery pack kind of, it was a big brick and had the GPS and everything sticking up and all that and everything. But that's just what you kind of had to have to like make it work. So the lowest KV that I have is on my 6-inch Canasti frame. It is 2200 kV on the T-Motor F80s. And that ship flies good. I've rebuilt it like 3 or 4 times. It's kind of like my test rig. I quit with the 6-inch stuff before wintertime because I got tired of walking in and out of this front door and coming to this Mac and uploading my card and looking at my video and seeing how bad it looked and going back out and changing PIDs and back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth. And so I just put it away. But then some better props and stuff came out, which kind of helped things a lot more. Yeah, I've seen people fly like a long way with Free Sky stuff, with XM Pluses and XSRs. I had, if you watch my videos when I fly and I take off and I go like left and I go down towards that field down there, down in the corner where the tree line is where I fail-safed with my XM Plus when I was it was like one of the rigs I didn't have Crossfire on, and that's probably like a half kilometer away from here. So, and I'm like basically like in the country. I don't understand why I don't get better 2.4, but I just don't. I think it's because there's just so much, like the fields and everything like that with the water and the mud and all that stuff, like just sucks up the moisture, just sucks up the video and the transmit. I know on 5.8 it does for sure. My video during the winter time is always worse than it is during the summertime, even if there's like green corn out there and everything like that. So it's just like the way it is. But I wish I would have had something with me this morning. I'm to the point now where I'm going to pack stuff in the bag and always have it with me, so that way I can always hop out and fly a spot if I see something cool. Like this morning, I was driving to the grocery store, and all of it was the fields looked like they were like boiling and steaming. All this fog was like coming off of them, and it wasn't like a big layer of like fog. It was like little like sprouts and patches and stuff of fog everywhere. So yeah, you could be right. I mean, those are high tension wires like right out there, you know. So, because that's like a state highway right there that I cross when I go flying out through there. So, but, you know, my Crossfire and 5.8 work just fine. My Mavic, I mean, I used to fly my Mavic all the way out there. So, actually, I had to go the other way with my Mavic because there's an airport up there, and technically, I'm like in the area where it shouldn't let me take off. I have to use a token. But for some reason, it would give me a token. I could take off, I could fly, but then when I would get like over there, kind of closer to it, it would always make me like return home. And yeah, RL, I've watched a lot of his videos. I mean, he was the guy that Bruce Simpson first talked about when he did that like 8.5 or 9 kilometer flight with his Phantom 4, where he flew it from like the mountaintop all the way down and landed it on his vacation, his apartment's patio. That was total sketch. That's why he's got like 30,000 subscribers and I have 3, but I love every one of you, so what can I say? He's kind of over the whole YouTube thing though. Like he doesn't post a lot of videos anymore, and he was he's kind of back and forth and wishy-washy and stuff like that. I don't know why. I don't know what his deal is. He's talking about money all the time, talking about renting out like his apartments and stuff, and I think his computer was on the fritz, and it took him so long to like edit his videos and everything that he was getting kind of fed up with it. So I don't understand why he got such a, I don't know. It almost seems like he thought that he was going to make a lot more money off of this and not just do it for fun or a hobby or whatever. Eagles or Patriots? I don't really know. Probably the Patriots, man. I mean, you can't root against Brady. That's for sure. And especially if Gronk's in there. I think he's going to be allowed to play. I mean, if you got Gronk in there. But if the Eagles can get to him, that pressure that they got, if that pressure can get to Brady, you know, if he can't stand there like a freaking statue and just pick people apart all day. No, nothing is ever easy. That's why I really like doing these live streams too. Not because like I don't mind doing the editing and stuff like that, but you kind of just get, you know, my fiance is a respiratory therapist, but she's in nursing school, so she works as a respiratory therapist like all weekend long. Which some people are like, oh great, that means you have all this time to fly and stuff. And yeah, I do. I got lots of time to do all this stuff and play Mr. Mom and everything like that while she's working, but sometimes you just want to like talk to people. Too old to be going out running bars and all that crap. I'd rather sit here and play with my toys and shoot the bull with you guys. So I'm glad that I decided to start doing something like this. Even if there's just 8 or 9 or 10 of us. I mean, I'd watch like Joshua Bardwell's live stream, and he's got 1,000 people on there, and people are giving him $1 and $50 and $1 and $50 and everything else, and guy can't even answer anybody's questions. You have to pay him to get him to answer a question for you. It's crazy, but good for him. I'm not hating on him at all, that's for sure. Two blades versus tri-blades on 6-inch. Right now tri-blades until a good dual blade prop comes, which I have some of the Gemfan like 6042s or whatever. I got like a set of those coming this week when I ordered my Predator Micro for my 5.5-inch Proton, because it's got one of those Cadix turbo cameras on it right now, and the colors on that thing are just like, they're just horrible. So, but they're $20. They're good if like something breaks and you're in a pinch. I got some good. I was able to get good. I was able to get good golden hour video on the dual blade carbon fiber HQ 6x2x4 45x2s, the same ones that like Richard Sheldon and all those guys use. But I think they've even switched now too. I think they've gone away from the dual blades, and I think a lot of them are flying tri-blades now, because the dowels are awesome. The 6040s, that's what I'm flying on the Konasti frame, and that thing's a hog with the GoPro and the battery. I mean, it's like 850 grams. So, and it flies great with those dowel tri-blades. I put the video up. You've probably seen it. I mean, it's smooth, but the dual blades sure do sound good though, man. They've got that grunt. They sound so good. And it's amazing how nimble they are too. So you can really get some good cornering and everything like that as well with the dual blades. Yeah, start with something small, Lino. Just get yourself a tiny whoop, man. That's where everybody else starts these days. That's what I tell everybody. Try the goggles that, try to find some people that you can look through different goggles. Something like regular Fat Sharks, and not like the ones with the big movie screens in front of you. The ones with the big movie screens, like the DJI goggles, even the DJI goggles gave me a little bit of weird feeling sometimes. I would always sit down and fly with them, which I stand when I fly FPV and everything else. Yeah, it is hard to tune bi-blades. It really is. It's because the flight controller code just isn't made for them. It's just not. The one thing I haven't done, though, that might solve the bi-blade issue is trying to flash the 3.3 RS2K build onto a 6-inch and then use bi-blades, which I was going to try to do that, but my CL Racing F4S that's in that 6-inch Konasti is like trashed. It's like locked up. I can't get it in a DFU. It's stuck, and it's like I can make changes in Betaflight. Like I can change the UARTs and everything like that, but then when I go back into like the OSD, it's still stuck in like tramp audio protocol. Like even though I've turned off tramp and turned on smart audio and wired it up to a different UART and everything, so I can't flash it. I can't do nothing. I might send it to Chang Lin and or Lee or whatever, and you know, he'll fix them or replace them if you send him shipping, because he got such a bad rap when all those came out and they were they were blank rolling. Can't say that word on YouTube or they'll demonetize me. So when they were rolling and dying, you know, crashing, just did it again. Jeez. So, but the Bardwell flight controllers, even though they're kind of designed the same way, been pretty solid so far. Even though it's only been like 25 or 30 flights, if that, because of the weather and everything else, how crazy it's been. But I bet if I take one of those, and I know I'll probably do it when the weather gets bad, so I will ping you and let you know, ex-droner, because I guarantee that I will pull that board out of there, because I have 2 Bardwell flight controllers down there now, because I stocked up on some parts while I had a coupon. So I'll probably pull that out, put a Bardwell in there, flash it with 3.3 in the Calm-Man filters, and I bet that I bet they'll fly better or be easier to tune. I bet it will. That stuff's just magic. The Betaflight 3.3 filtering, whether they go with RS2K stuff or if they go with their own Biquad 2, it will be pretty. It will be pretty insane. It will be a lot better. I've seen actually a couple of videos about guys that racers that, you know, 5-inch guys that only race with bi-blades instead of tris, and they swear by RS2K's 3.3 build. So, you know, we could be in for some good stuff. And who knows, there'll be something else out around that time anyway. So, but I definitely need to pull that board out of there before that thing just dies in midair, and then I have to go walking through a foot of mud for 3/4 to a mile and get that. Ugh. Garrett Johnson just commented on my video, if you don't want to start doing crazy acro, let's see some longer range and let the Crossfire really stretch its legs. Yeah, I'm going to put it in back in my wing and do it. Just can't stretch no legs on a quad, man. There's just not enough battery life. Just isn't. Even if you use 5S and 6S. I did a slow cruise on my 5.5 inch today and got up to about, I could have got 8.5 minutes. I've actually got 11.5 or 12 minutes before using a 4S, that super lithium silicone graphene high voltage pack. So I do have turtle mode enabled. It's like your only hope. But the problem is that, you know, all that stuff out there, they didn't like plow. Well, even if they would have, they didn't plow those fields this year for some reason. So if I go down in those fields, I'm going to have like all of these like lumps and bumps and everything like that. So it's like something's not going to spin. Like I'll sit there and just work that stick back and forth, and I might be able to get it to flip over and take off, but if it would make it back without burning up a motor or something, I'd be pretty surprised. But, you know, got the dynamic filters and all that kind of crap turned on, so it might make it back. They used to do that when they were promoting race flight. They would bend the propellers and fly it around and show you that race flight's filtering could compensate for the bent props. I think they even like cut some of them. What is OcuSync, and is it not as fun flying the Mavic Air because it does Wi-Fi only? Well, we don't know that yet. I am just guessing because OcuSync is basically a Wi-Fi technology with like DJI's special sauce added on top of it. That is the most solid control link that and video link that I've ever used on anything. Um, the Wi-Fi that was built into the Spark was pretty sketchy. This one is supposed to be extended and a little bit better in the Mavic Air, but I'm not 100% sold on it because I haven't got to see it in person or use it. I mean, all the information that we're getting is from like the bigger echelon of like YouTubers and filmmakers that they've sent these drones to. Nobody's allowed to say anything bad about about these things when they get them pre-release. I mean, what, like 4 or 5 hours after DJI did their announcement, you had like Nice Stat, Ready Set Drone. You had all those guys putting out all their videos because they were sent the videos. Well, I got to jump off and get going then, guys. So appreciate sticking around and everything for the chat. Don't forget, leave me some comments or questions if you have anything left on there, and I'll answer them. I'm not too big or too good to answer any of that stuff. So we'll talk to you guys later. See you on the next stream. See you on the videos.